Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Batwoman, and it's actually my first video on Batwoman for a while because I did a review for the pilot episode back when it came out at Comic-Con, and I got to watch it there at San Diego Comic-Con, did a review then, and then obviously I didn't review it again when episode 1 came out because I'd already reviewed it, and last week unfortunately I was busy, and I was actually busy today, but got around to doing it later on anyway. So this is for episode 3, my review. The episode is called Down, Down, Down. If you're from Australia, that might remind you of the old Coles anthem, down, 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 prices are down. But yeah, obviously we're going to be talking about spoilers for the episode, so if you've not watched it, go watch the episode, then come back to this video later on. And of course, if you're going to enjoy it, it would be awesome if you could drop a like on it and show your support. Let me know in the comments section down below what you thought of the episode and all of that. So in episode 2, basically, just to do a bit of a quick recap, we had like Kate, Kate, believing that Alice was Beth, which obviously we know is right, but just believing that and pretty much voicing that opinion, especially to her family, does drive a wedge between herself and her father, because her father doesn't want to believe it and everything like that. Obviously in this episode, things take a step towards that, him believing that, but in that episode, in episode 2, it was like, no, I don't believe it at all, blah, blah, blah. But this leads Kate to doing some things which, if her father still didn't believe it, was a bit, not the best, when Kate actually saves Alice from pretty much trying to get caught and stuff like that, but eventually Alice is actually taken, and then Kate as Batwoman actually saves Alice from getting taken to Arkham, when that sort of like bomb thing goes off. But we also had Kate's stepmother, what's her name, Catherine, pretty much get the that knife taken and sort of destroyed. And that obviously could have had like the DNA of Alice on it. So yeah, there's something going on there, which obviously does play out in this episode as well. But right at the end of the episode, we did see Kate find a parcel on her bike or motorbike containing a bat and also a note from Alice that pretty much says, like, I know who you are. And it said, what did the note say? I think, you have your father's eyes, which is actually from the Batwoman comics as well. But we start off the episode, or didn't start off the episode, but one of the things early on in this episode is pretty much, Kate realizing that Batwoman, or her version of Batman, might I say, her taking on the mantle, is giving Gotham false hope, and essentially, and unfortunately for her, she feels that it's hope that she can't live up to, and obviously things are happening in the city because of it. And I feel they've actually done a really solid job pushing this along. Obviously, they could have waited. Like, they could have honestly waited like 2 or 3 episodes, kept Kate in that suit and doing other things, maybe even causing bigger and badder things to come out, which we'll refer to later on in the video. But she kept doing that. I think it's good that they hit it on the head, pretty early on, so Kate can progress and become her own character and her own hero. But it was good that, like, one of the criticisms that I've heard is like, oh, they crap on Batman. I was like, they really don't. They sort of do the opposite. They really give Batman a lot of respect, regardless, even because of what he's done, where Bruce Wayne has left. So I think what they did here was good, making Kate sort of progress that way. But I think one of the biggest issues with the show, and don't get me wrong, I like Batwoman. I think it's actually an above average DC TV show. I think pretty much a lot of the people that are hating on it haven't even watched the show, which once again I'll talk about later in the video. But one of the issues I think is maybe juggling of too many characters. Like, one of the biggest effects of this, and I guess what they're trying to do, is that Alice I think is actually one of, if not the strongest parts of the show. And I'm excited to see what they do with her. Obviously, the flashbacks aren't amazing. I'm not going to try and pretend like they're good, or they're sort of interesting, especially the one that we got in this episode, like the face skin coming up, that was just pretty creepy. They're not amazing, but you never know. They could, turn out better as we move throughout the season. But one of the things with Alice that was evident in this episode is that they're trying to make us care about certain characters based off limited screen time. We're only on episode 3, and they're almost trying to make it like, we've spent time with Alice for maybe 8 episodes at the minimum, and we really care about her backstory and everything like that, when I don't think they've actually given us enough time to actually build that care for the character. And that goes along with a lot of the other characters as well, like even like Mary and stuff like that in this episode. And it just comes down to, I think they're juggling too many characters and stories early on in this season, only up to episode 3, and it feels like we're just balancing so many different things here. I don't know if it's because Batwoman premiered in Elseworlds, and it's like, oh, okay, well, we've known Batwoman since last December, so it's been almost a year, I guess, since Batwoman was introduced, so we can progress this quickly. But you got to treat it as if we never met Batwoman, and you got to build this universe on itself, rather than just going off the Elseworlds thing and pretending like that's where it all started, even though we were only with Kate and Batwoman for like half an hour of that episode, if that, maybe like 25 minutes. So I think they've made an error there. I think they need to really streamline the storytelling. I think that's one of the big things they have to do. And even in this episode, like I guess also last episode that carries into this episode, like setting up Catherine or like the stepmother story arc with Alice, like the whole 283 on the cards and stuff like that. I feel like they really have to streamline the storytelling and do things that a lot of the other shows do. Not necessarily what they did in their first seasons, but they do in further seasons when they want to focus on a character, is that have like, say you have like a villain of the week, which I think next week's episode is for Batwoman. Have a villain of the week, and that's what Kate does throughout the episode and, as Batwoman, and then Kate will do some other stuff just as Kate. And then the side story is focused on one of the characters. So next episode could be about Catherine, and maybe do like a little tease or something like that, or have it completely in next episode, or have Mary's whole thing in next episode. Don't try and balance 3 or 4 side character stories in the one episode, because it just clunkers down the episode and it just makes you feel like you're rushing, and you can't really build care because you're just jumping from character to character and not really being attached to anything. So I think they need to streamline the storytelling. I don't know if that's going to happen in this season, but it's something that I wish they would have done. But the big villain for this episode, and the big introduction, I guess, was that of Tommy Elliot, who I'm sure most of you people would know as Hush from the comics. This was essentially sort of his origin as Hush, but also pretty much telling, like, I guess, like the first half of the graphic novel, or like at least giving like the basis of what's going on. So he got the Riddler to lead him to finding out who Batman is, which is, of course, if you didn't know, spoiler alert, but Batman is Bruce Wayne, which is pretty much how it goes down in the Hush storyline in the comics. Like, that's pretty much what it is. Like, the Riddler does, and then Batman sort of convinces the Riddler not to, like, he convinces Riddler not to do it because then he's giving away the answer to his riddle, because his riddle will be, who is the Batman? And if he reveals that, then people would know the answer to his riddle, and the Riddler doesn't want that, does he? Now, the thing with this is that I liked it. I think the guy that played Tommy Elliot was pretty good, but they sort of did cheat a bit, because like Tommy's a villain in the comics, and they sort of went down there like, oh, he's bad in the show because he's bad in the comics, without really setting it up all too well. Like, even like the backstory about like him wanting his mum to die to have the inheritance, that's from Hush as well in the comics as well. So it wasn't terrible. Like, I actually enjoyed it, but I did feel like they were sort of cheating a bit. Like, actually, you know, I'm not going to say like as a negative, because I actually did like the whole Tommy Elliot thing. I just felt like they were cheating a bit. It was just a bit rushed. I guess the big question is, will we see him back? Like, I wouldn't mind it. They say he's going to Arkham Asylum, so maybe that might mess him up a bit. Obviously, it would be interesting to see if he comes back in the whole bandages thing. I don't know how that would look in live action, because it's sort of a bit silly in the comics anyway, the whole bandage thing, so I don't know how it would look in live action, because things don't translate that well. So maybe he just comes back a bit different, maybe like scarred or something, I don't know, something like that. But if he does come back, I wouldn't mind it, and be interesting to see where they go with it. But yeah, and as I was saying, even though Alice was like the strongest part of like the first couple of episodes, it was actually Kate Kane and Batwoman that really stood up in this episode. You can see that like Kate's story is going through a pretty clear and directly focused story arc, as she takes up the whole mantle of Batman in Gotham City in those opening episodes, and I guess at the beginning of this episode, without really having a proper or just like complete direction of what hero she wants to be, or even just like a general understanding of what comes along with being a vigilante, especially in Gotham City, and especially when you are a bat. I mean, this episode really made it clear that Kate just understands that bringing the bat back into Gotham is going to bring back out the villains within it, obviously with Tommy coming into it, obviously, as the example of that early on. Obviously, one of the big things with Batman and Gotham in general in the comics is that Batman sort of like makes a lot of his villains, if you want to call it. He makes them who they are and what they do and stuff. Like, in some cases, villains come to Gotham City just for the challenge of the Batman. So Kate bringing the bat back, oh boy, would it make those villains like from the past keen for another round. So I'm interested to see what they do. I know Magpie's, I think, in next episode or the week after. So it'd be interesting to see what they do going forward. Now, with Elseworlds, it seems like Elseworlds lines up soon. It's either after this episode or after next week's episode. I mean, Alice broke the bat signal in this episode, and for those that remember, the signal was sort of like broken when Flash, Supergirl, and Green Arrow saw it last year in Gotham, and Batwoman wasn't really known in Gotham, really. Like, at the end of this episode, they have Vesper Fairchild go like, oh, what's this new vigilante's name going to be? Bat Chick, Bat Lady, I think, were the two. I was wondering if they're going to say Batgirl, but they didn't say Batgirl. So Bat Chick and Bat Lady were the two options, I think. And then we had Sophie say Batwoman. But I'd say Elseworlds probably drops after this episode. Maybe next week it gets referenced. Maybe there's like a breakout in Arkham. Maybe the Arkham breakout allowed Tommy Elliot to get out. I don't know. So it seems that after this episode, is Elseworlds. It could be after episode 4, who knows. But I'm sure there'll be references to it in the episode after it's meant to take place. But yeah, guys, overall, I thought this episode was pretty solid, as I pretty much said throughout the video. If you enjoyed my video and all that, and just my thoughts on the episode, would be awesome if you could drop a like on it. Shows support. Let me know in the comment section down below. What did you think of this episode? Is Batwoman improving for you as episodes go on? Are you looking forward to what they do later on this season? And just give me your general thoughts on this episode. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.